You will not recognize your true nature in everyday roles, nor in the eyes of others looking at you. It lies deeper, where symbols come alive and call your name. When you step into the labyrinth of the soul, you do not merely encounter fear or old wounds, but also meet ancient archetypes that speak. Each archetype is a fragment of the collective soul, passed down through generations, and now they await your confrontation. You will see the hero and his wounds, the rebel and his fire, the lover and his longing, the sage and his silence. But all of them are you. The question is, do you have the courage to listen to them? Many people ask me, how can I know my true nature? I often reply, you will not find it in the bathroom mirror, where only the social face you wear is reflected. Your true nature reveals itself when you are lost in the labyrinth of the soul, when you are forced to face the archetypal shadows living within you. You enter the labyrinth like a traveler without a map. Each corridor is a choice, each turn a piece of the life you've lived. There are familiar hallways, the social roles, the expectations imposed by others. You realize you've walked these paths many times to the point of believing they are you, but the deeper you go, the more disoriented you become. The walls of the labyrinth faintly shimmer with ancient symbols, the serpent, the circle, the flame, all resonating in the collective unconscious. The first feeling is confusion. Jung once said, confusion is the beginning of awareness. In the labyrinth, you have no anchor. It is this very disorientation that makes you realize that the everyday self, the persona, is merely a mask for survival. But your true nature does not appear in easy light. It dwells in the dark corners. When you touch the cold walls of the labyrinth, you hear an echo. You have forgotten me. That is the shadow, the part you've denied, now calling you to return. In this moment, the labyrinth ceases to be an enemy and becomes an initiation rite. The very disorientation opens a new door. If you dare to continue, the labyrinth will lead you to the foot of a mountain where the true journey begins. When you emerge from the labyrinth's corridors, a majestic sheen unfolds before your eyes, a colossal mountain, towering, shrouded in clouds and darkness. This mountain is not in the external world. It is an image formed from the deepest parts of your soul. Each steep incline is a challenge posed by the unconscious, compelling you to climb, to find yourself standing before the mountain. The first feeling is overwhelm and powerlessness. You hear the shadows whisper, you cannot, but at the same time, a small flame flickers the call of the hero within you. This is the archetype of challenge and courage, of the desire to rise above the ordinary. But Jung reminds us that the hero is not just the one who triumphs externally. The true hero dares to face their own weaknesses. A step upward, you feel the weight of complexes, rejected memories, feelings of failure, unacknowledged shame. The mountain is the embodiment of buried memories, forcing you to confront them. The stories of Hercules or Prometheus are no longer mere ancient myths. They are images of you, struggling to break the invisible chains of the past. And as you continue, a realization dawns. The mountain is not just an obstacle, but a silent teacher. Each wound on this climb is a lesson, each labored breath a reminder that your true nature comes not from avoidance, but from enduring, continuing, and listening to the inner call. The mountain does not ask if you are strong enough. It only asks, do you dare to begin? After climbing the rugged slopes, when your breath grows heavy and your legs falter, you encounter a vast darkness in the rock face. A deep cave. It is both inviting and menacing, like a giant mouth of the earth, where secrets have slumbered for thousands of years. In legends and religions, the cave is always a symbol of birth and rebirth. Christ was born in a cave. Gods and heroes passed through darkness to be reborn. In analytical psychology, the cave is the image of the unconscious womb, where you must return to meet the forgotten parts of your soul. Your footsteps echo in the darkness, and immediately you feel utterly alone. This solitude is the first challenge. The ego, accustomed to noise and external validation, must now face absolute emptiness. The faint light of the torch in your hand only illuminates a small circle, but the deeper you go, the more you realize it is not the darkness surrounding you, but you stepping into the darkness of your own soul. Deep in the cave, shapes begin to appear, sometimes vague, sometimes vivid. There are familiar faces and also monstrous forms. These are the parts you've pushed down for years. Suppressed anger, denied weakness, desires society labeled shameful. This is the shadow, what Jung called the uninvited companion. The shadow does not vanish just because you reject it. On the contrary, it grows stronger in denial, rising as inexplicable anger or harsh judgment. But in that darkness, you also encounter something strange. A glittering treasure guarded by those fearsome shapes. This is the paradox of the soul's journey. The treasure and the monster are always in the same place. If you avoid it, you see only the monster. If you dare to approach, you may claim the jewel, the strength and wholeness of yourself. The cave is not the end, but the gateway of challenge. To step out, you must bravely face the shadow and whisper, "You are also me." When those words of acceptance ring out, the darkness becomes less frightening, and you realize the monstrous part was only waiting to be recognized as part of the whole. When you leave the cave, a new light appears ahead, but it is not the final light, only a sign that you have the courage to proceed to a deeper layer, the underground river of the collective unconscious. As you step out of the cave, your eyes still steeped in darkness, your ears catch a strange sound, a distant, steady flow of water. Following that sound, you reach a hollow within the mountain, and there unfolds a wondrous scene, a vast underground river, winding through stone arches like a giant vein of the earth. Its waters are not clear, like surface streams, but bear a dark hue, shimmering silver-like mercury. It is not merely physical water. This is the flow of the collective unconscious Jung described. A river carrying memories, symbols, and archetypes beyond personal life. As you lean down and gaze into the water, you see not only your own reflection, but countless other images rising and dissolving. The hero raising a sword, the lover embracing tearful eyes, the rebel hurling a hammer to break chains, the sage sitting in silence, holding a small lamp. They appear like fleeting islands on the river's surface, each archetype glimmering briefly before sinking into the deeper current. You realize these are the timeless roles, not just of you, but of humanity. You recall stories heard in childhood, Greek heroes battling beasts, the Buddha leaving his palace for enlightenment, kings founding nations, cunning tricksters, and you suddenly understand that those stories are not just about them, but about you. They are ancient scripts etched deep in the collective psyche, and each person in their life's journey must play at least some part of them. The underground river becomes another mirror, But this time, it reflects not the shadow or the mask, but the ancient origins of your being. When you touch the water, you feel a powerful connection, as if thousands of ancestors, millions of stories flow through your veins. This is what Jung called the bond with the collective unconscious. We are never just isolated individuals, but fragments of a greater symphony, resonating through every generation. Yet, with this connection comes a fear. If I am merely one of these ancient roles, do I have my own nature? In this moment, you hear a whisper. You are not just one archetype, but where they meet. The underground river does not merely show which archetypes you belong to. It invites you to reconcile them, to weave them into a unique melody called I, Mud. As you stand, the river continues its steady, endless flow. You know, you cannot stay here forever. The river has shown you your origin. The journey continues. Ahead, a path glowing red like fire awaits. The alchemical flame where the final challenge of transformation will unfold. You leave the river's edge, but the images reflected in its waters still echo in your mind. They refuse to let you walk in silence, following you out of the stone arches, manifesting as living figures on the damp earth path leading to the fiery abyss ahead. You find yourself surrounded by a strange procession, the archetypes, not distant mists, but vibrant parts of you. The first to approach is the hero. His armor is tattered, his shoulders scarred, but his eyes blaze with determination. He places a hand on your shoulder and whispers, I walked with you in the days you struggled against fear. I gave you strength to go on, but I also planted in you the obsession to always win. Do you still need me to survive? Or is it time to learn to lay down the sword? Then the lover appears, draped in a red veil, her eyes brimming with longing and heartbreak. She says, I taught you to crave connection, to tremble before beauty. But sometimes I made you lose yourself in another's arms. Can you dare to love without vanishing? Can you stand whole beside another and still be you? Next, the rebel steps forward. With a ringing laugh and a torch in hand, he shouts, I made you break walls, shake the chains you bound yourself with, but I also burned too much. Leaving ruin, will you use the fire I gave to destroy or to forge a new path? Finally, the sage emerges from the darkness, old and leaning on a staff, his eyes deep as the night sky. He does not reproach or promise. He only says softly, I have always been here, in your silence. I am the gentle voice you often ignored amid the world's noise. But wisdom is not for keeping in books. It has value only when lived. Are you ready to live what you know? Standing within the circle of archetypes, you feel as if you are being torn into pieces, each pulled by a different force. At times, you want to flee their clamor, but then you understand, if you refuse to listen, they will keep whispering in the shadows, controlling you from behind. Only by dialoguing with them do you begin to reclaim your soul. Jung once said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Dialoguing with the archetypes is this work, making the darkness and light within you seen and named. When each archetype has spoken, you realize your true nature is not choosing one of them, but the circle where they all sit together. You cannot deny the hero, nor reject the lover, the rebel, or the sage. You can only accept that they are all you. And in the tension between them, something new is born, the self, the whole self. In the distance, the red light of the alchemical fire flickers. Like a great forge awaiting you understand, to integrate all the archetypes you've dialogued with, you must pass through that fire. So the clash of forces no longer tears you apart, but melts into a refining process. The next stretch is no longer dialogue, but transformation. You draw closer, and before you unfolds a scene never seen before. A massive forge lies within the mountain's heart. Its flames blazing red, like a sun imprisoned beneath the earth. The surrounding stone walls glow orange, the heat searing as if to burn away your final layers of falsehood. This is no ordinary fire, it is the alchemical fire, the ancient flame sought by generations of alchemists, not to turn iron into gold, but to transform a fractured soul into wholeness. In the firelight, you see the archetypes you dialogued with, the hero, the lover, the rebel, the sage, all standing around you. But now they are silent, waiting, as if the fire alone has the right to judge. Fear rises. Will you be consumed, vanish, or be reborn? This is the moment Jung called Nigredo, the dark phase of alchemy, where the ego is crushed to make way for something new. You hesitate, but step into the circle of fire. The flames embrace you, scorching yet strangely gentle, like the hand of a stern mother. Each flare is a suppressed memory, a childhood wound, a stifled anger, a denied desire. All are burned, not to vanish, but to become material for refinement. In a flash, you feel yourself melting, no longer distinguishing hero from lover, rebel from shadow. You see only the flow of vital energy swirling like a fiery mandala. Then the fire changes color. From the darkness of Nigredo, it shifts to silver albedo. The purification, you feel cleansed, free of masks and imposed roles. You are a transparent being, empty enough to receive. And finally, the fire turns a radiant red gold rubedo, the ultimate union. This is the moment of conjunctio oppositorum, the sacred marriage of opposites. In you, hero and shadow no longer clash, lover and rebel no longer conflict. They all dissolve in the fire, becoming one being, the self. In the midst of the fire, you no longer feel pain. Instead, you feel an unprecedented peaceful strength, as if every fragment of your life has finally found its place in a whole picture. You recall Jung's words, the self is the center and the totality of the soul, transcending the ego, yet encompassing it. And you understand that the fire did not destroy you, but only the illusions about you. As the fire subsides, you step out of the forge, your body trembles, but your eyes blaze. You are no longer the one who entered the labyrinth in despair, nor merely the one who dialogued with archetypes. You have become the integrator, the one carrying the symphony of the unconscious, refined into the self on the horizon ahead. A radiant light shines from the mountain's peak. It is the invitation to the final stage, the revelation of the self, where the light comes not from outside but from your inner center. The alchemical fire has faded, but its echoes still resonate in every fiber, every vein of your being. You step out of the forge like one who has passed through death and rebirth. Before you, the path opens, no longer leading into darkness or challenge, but upward toward the peak, where the sky seems to touch the earth. You know, this final step is not to prove or conquer, but to reveal your true nature. The path to the peak is no longer treacherous, but glows as if lit by an invisible energy. With each step, You feel lighter, as if the burdens of decades, centuries, have melted in the fire. As you near the summit, the sky turns a deep blue vault, and at its center you say, "Avast mandala spinning." It is not an illusion. It is the ultimate image of the self, drawn by the journey you have traversed, the labyrinth, the mountain, the cave, the underground river, the circle of archetypes, the alchemical fire, all merged in this final symbol. You sit down, not as a conqueror, but as one who has found the first and final home. In that stillness, you begin to hear an echo, not from outside, but within, the voices of the hero, the lover, the rebel, the sage. All are still there, but now they do not argue or pull you in different directions. They have merged into a single voice, the voice of the self, and that voice whispers, "You are me, and I am you." A light flares from your chest, not blinding like the sun, but warm like a hearth fire. It is the light of wholeness. The light, Jung said, comes not from imagining beautiful images, but from becoming conscious of the darkness. This light needs no witness, no recognition. It only needs to be lived. You look back at the path you've traveled, the labyrinth of disorientation, the mountain of challenge, the cave of darkness, the underground river of the collective, the circle of archetypes, the alchemical fire. All are still there, but no longer frightening. They have become signposts, markers of the journey you've taken, and you understand that the journey does not end here. Each day of living will be a new spiral of the labyrinth, a new challenge of the mountain, a new darkness in the cave, a new archetype from the underground river. But you are no longer afraid, for you know, all lead back to the self. At the mountain's peak, you open your hands. The breeze blows, cool and fresh. You see, you are no longer separate from the world. The sky is not outside you, the river not beneath you, the fire not beyond the mountain. All are within you. You are the whole. In that moment, you understand what Jung emphasized in Ion and the Red Book. The path of individuation is not about becoming someone new, but returning to yourself, to the center that has always been there, yet was once obscured by darkness and masks. The light of the self is not an endpoint, but an open invitation to live each day as a ritual, to dialogue with archetypes, to enter new darkness with forged courage. And in every small action, every daily decision, you continue to draw your own mandala, a living picture that never ceases to change, yet always revolves around an unmoving center, the whole self. You close your eyes. The light is no longer just outside, but has become an inner source, and in that stillness, you realize the journey was never about seeking something external, but always a whisper to return home, where you are the light, the darkness, the whole